Listen first. Tall D, tall A. Tit, tat, don't say that. And sing. Next Monday. All right. Will you please come join a child of your choice at an instrument? If your child is at a smaller instrument and you're not ready to get on the floor, we can have some people trade out also. But go on over. Don't forget all the little details you have to show them. Show them how to hold the mallets correctly. Show them which notes I mean when I'm talking about tall D and tall A. Come on in. We push the bottom scales a little further out. I think we can finish that and use a little more space there. Come on over. We're having everyone play instruments today. I was thinking you were holding his hand. He's got it. He's got it. Did you want to come over and play an instrument? Did you want to come play an instrument too?
I'm okay.
Letting everybody try today. Just for my interest's sake, parents, did any of you experience instruments like this in elementary school?
Yep.
You did? Excellent. Where?
Dietrichson.
Dietrichson. Oh, yeah. Was it Miss Hughes?
Yeah.
She was one of my early mentors. Taught my elementary music methods in college.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I lucked out to have her. So, but did anybody else? Oh, good. That's good to hear because I grew up in LA Unified in elementary school, and I was a child of Prop 13 where they cut ice. And I know California's, it's kind of patchy. Sometimes there are places that have music and some that don't. These instruments are called Orff instruments because Carl Orff helped bring them into music education. He started out as a composer, but then ended up working at a post-high school. I don't know that it was officially called a college at that point. But he was teaching students, and he was finding that his dancers weren't able to integrate with the music the way musicians could, and the musicians could not fully understand music the way the dancers could. And so they just started doing a lot of crossover between the two. And then people started bringing him instruments from around the world. So the wooden instruments are modeled after ribbas from Africa. The metal instruments, the ones with the big metal bars, are modeled after Indonesian gamelan, where most of the bars are metal. And then the glockenspiels, we always talk about how that's a German word for bell sound. So it's kind of like, a little more like the orchestral bells. Come on in, we're having parents come along and play too, so. Oh, okay, so that'll be starting at 9:45. Right, this is Bosch's class?
Yeah.
At least I know what grade I'll have one teaching. Okay. All right, so the first signal I do, I'm pretty sure the drummer's already got you going. All right, you ready to follow my signals? When I clap. Nobody's really brave about triangles? CJ, your mom told me she's coming in right about 9:30, so you grab her and you have her play with everything when she gets here, okay? She said she was going to do her best, but somehow the note didn't make it home. Now I say the ostinato, I say words that go with the pattern you're going to play. I'll say it one time and then get started playing. Kiss, chat, don't say back. Now play. Now we're going to sing the song. Double Everybody feel all right? Tell him, Jacob. What's my rule about that? He did. That was perfect. That tells me at least he's internalized it. All right. So this is a really fun story. I think it ended it in my own children's library. And then I just decided it was awfully fun. So the song was written to go with the song, or the story, which is called Double Trouble in Walla Walla. It was an ordinary Monday morning in Walla Walla until Lulu. Mrs. Bell, I feel like a nitwit. My homework is all higgledy-piggledy. Last night it was in tip-top shape, but now it's a big mishmash. Mrs. Bell said, nitwit, higgledy-piggledy, mishmash? Lulu, stop that flip-flop chitter-chatter, or you'll be in double trouble. Lulu said, but I'm not trying to flip-flop chit-chat. I just have an itty-bitty problem with my homework. Mrs. Bell scowled. All right for you, Lulu. If you're going to shilly-shally and dilly-dally with all this fancy-schmancy yak-yak, then we'll just have to trot down to the principal's office. Chit, chat, don't say that. Mrs. Bell hurried Lulu down the hall, and they burst into the principal's office. Okay, both again. There should be some extra habits somewhere underneath there. If you both want to play, that's fine. And you can play on the higher octave too if you want to. So Mr. Thomas said, "What's all the hubbub about?" Mrs. Bell said, "Lulu's been trying to razzle-dazzle me with some kind of lippity-loppity jibber-jabber, and now I'm a helter-skelter myself." Mr. Thomas raised his eyebrows. "Tut-tut, sounds like silly willy hocus-pocus to me." Mrs. Bell's mouth dropped open. She pointed at the principal and said, "Eka-freaka! Lulu's got your tongue all topsy-turvy too." now, don't get the Jim Jams, Mrs. Bell. Let's give the nurse a yoo-hoo. Mr. Thomas picked up his phone and said, Mrs. Carter, I'm gonna pitter-patter over to the office. Okie dokie. Let Mom play. Let Mom play. She's got it. Jib, tap, don't say that. All three went across the hall to the nurse's office. Mr. Thomas said, "Howdy doody, Mrs. Carter. We're a little wacko-wacko. Lulu's got us talking the sing-song claptrap like we're cuckoo." Mrs. Carter smiled at Lulu and said, "Fiddle-faddle. Lulu and I are palsy-wowsies." She wouldn't try that phony baloney tutti-frutti flim-flam. Lulu and her teacher and the principal stared at the nurse. Lulu said, "Wowie zowie." Mrs. Bell said, "Jeepers creepers." And Mr. Thomas said, "Holy moly, you're in the same hodgepodge we are. I'd better give the superintendent a jingle jangle. Chop chop." "Wait one ding dang tick tock," shouted the nurse. "If you chit chat with the bigwig, then he'll yak like Lulu too. If we're not very, very hush-hush about this, there could be a mongo-bongo brain drain. And everybody in Walla Walla will be talking like a herky-jerky ding-a-ling." Then the nurse turned to Lulu. "Lulu, let's get to the nitty-gritty. When did all this mumbo-jumbo start?" Lulu gulped. She said, "In English class, I had an itsy-bitsy problem with my homework, and then zip-zap, Mrs. Bell said talking like this was a no-no." The nurse looked over the top of her glasses at Lulu. Something like this would not just happen willy-nilly. "Now, Lulu, think extra, extra hard and tell me what you did yesterday." "Well," said Lulu, "it was really a humdrum day. I was practicing ballet in my tutu when my little brother Bobo asked me to play on the teeter-totter. We seesawed until Bobo slipped off and got a boo-boo and started to boo-hoo. Mama and Papa came running pell-mell, so I went inside and splish-splashed in a rub-a-dub tub, and then hip-hopped into my cuddly-wuddly buddy-buddy. I said night-night to Mama and Papa and Bobo and fell asleep in a snip-snack. That's all I did, honest." Mrs. Carter said, "Lulu, it seems to me that you've opened up a knock'em sock'em wibble wobble word war. I usually don't believe in this kind of hoodoo bunko junko, but if it was going to happen anywhere, it would probably happen right here in Walla Walla." Mrs. Bell said, "Let's not quibble quabble, Mrs. Carter. I'm getting the heebie-jeebies from all this razzmatazz. What can we do?" Wait. You can stand up if you need to, that's fine. Listen first. Tick, tack, so say that. we should say all the rootin' tootin', crinkum crank, and woolly bully words we can think of. Maybe it will clear the air and close the war. Worth a try, asked Nurse Carter? Mr. Thomas said, aye, aye. Mrs. Bell said, let's do-si-do. And Lulu said, uh-huh. Nurse Carter closed the door to her office. Then she turned around and said, Lulu, let's get this harum-scarum show on the road. Lulu stood right up and blurted out, ticky-tacky knick-knack, coochie-coochie-coo, hubba-bubba, roger-dodger, ooey-gooey-goo. Mrs. Carter cleared her throat and said, hugger-mugger, hop-knock, pitter-patter, bon-bon, wishy-washy, squishy-squashy, handy-dandy, mishmash. Mr. Thomas closed his eyes and started slowly, but picked up speed. Itsy-bitsy, choo-choo, teeny-tiny, hurdy-gurdy, roly-poly, rag-tag, hurly-burly, riff-raff, rumble-tumble, hip-hop, teeny-weeny, pop-top, namby-pamby, hippy-dippy, hoity-toity, hotshot. And then Mrs. Bell stood up and took a deep breath. Putt, putt, vroom, vroom, honk, honk, zoom, zoom, zig-zag, clang, clang, slam, bam, fender, bender, ring-a-dingy, cling, clang, ring-a-ding, boing, boing, ring-a-ling, zing, zing, bing, bang, boom. Never, never, wigwam, turkey-lurkey, tom-tom, tootsie-wootsie, tittle-tattle, tee-hee-hee. You can tell the kids are still impressed with this particular page. And then, without warning, words fled in the air. Fuzzy-wuzzy, fuddy-duddy, loosey-goosey, lovey-dovey, kissy-kissy, huggy-huggy, rink-a-dink-a-doo. Ga-ga, rah-rah, go-go, so-so, frou-frou, goo-goo, poo-poo, woo-woo. Rinky-dinky, arf-arf, argy-bargy, woof-woof, bookie-wookie, bow-wow, super-duper, pooper-scooper. Clippity-cloppity, hippity-hoppity, clickety-clackety, rickety-rackety, blah-blah-blah, ba-ba-ba, ha-ha-ha. Click, clock, drip, drop, click, clack, rick, rack, eager, beaver, lucky, ducky, comfy, dumpy, fat cat. Hee haw, tweet, tweet, chirp, chirp, cheep, cheep, cluck, cluck, quack, quack, yuck, yuck, yuck. Oh, that was right on this page, right? Bozo, yo-yo, heyday, mayday, hokey pokey, hanky panky, goody goody, yum yum, yummy yummy, tum tum, gimme gimme, gobble gobble, jelly belly, dum dum, boo doo, boo too, blue moo, poo poo, clang clang, yin yang, ching ching, wing ding, pow wow, cow tow, peg leg, jet set, shoulda coulda woulda, better hadda oughta, ship shape, some pump, icky breaky doo, dad, fi my, rag bag, tie dye, beep beep, ho ho, pa pa, do do, roota toot, zoot zoot, looky looky, local yokel. Georgie, Porgy, Hunka, Munka, Henny, Penny, Humpty Dumpty. And then suddenly silence. Lulu, Mrs. Bell, and Mr. Thomas slumped into chairs, and Mrs. Carter flopped into the cot against the wall. Was it over? No one dared to speak. Lulu whispered, Mrs. Carter, may I please have a drink of water? Mrs. Carter sat up and said, of course you may, dear. Mrs. Bell smiled weakly at the principal and said, you are magnificent, sir. Mr. Thomas perked up and smiled at everyone. He straightened his tie and he said, I think we've done it, people. He comes in. Mrs. Carter sat down at her desk and went back to checking over her posture records. Mr. Thomas walked across the hall to his office and went back to the letter he was writing. Lulu followed Mrs. Bell down the hallway and soon had her English homework all straightened out. And after English, it was just an ordinary Monday in Walla Walla. Tit, tat, don't say that. All right, now I need all of my performers to stand up as slowly or quickly as needed, with assistance if needed. And on the count of three, we're going to bow. You ready? You too. You do it for me. 1, 2, 3. Nicely done. All right, and now for a magic trick. This is my magic.
Stay out of the puddle. See you later.
Good job, bro.
Thanks.
I'll see you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Come on.